What is a thyroid type and why is it crucial for you to know and understand yours if you have Hashimoto's? This is such an important topic. And whenever I ask people if they know their thyroid type, I often get people raising their hand and saying, yes, yes, I know my type. I'm the Hashimoto's type or I'm the hypothyroidism type. However, that is not your thyroid type. That is your diagnosis, Hashimoto's or hypothyroidism, and in many cases, both. And the reason why people think it's their thyroid type as first is because when you go to the doctor, that's very conventional, and you think you have a thyroid issue, you come and you say, hey, please test me. I think there's something going on. The doctor will usually tell you one of two things. They'll either say, your thyroid is normal because your TSH is okay and there's nothing that we need to do and we just wait and see. Or they'll say something like it's just Hashimoto's, which is definitely more than just, but that's what people are told. Or they'll say, yes, your thyroid is slow. Here's some thyroid medicine. I'll see you in 6 months. But there is so much more to this. Hypothyroidism is a slow thyroid, but there's also different types of slowdowns, which is what the thyroid types are. So what happens with our thyroid is that there's many different things that need to happen from when the thyroid hormone is produced to when it actually gets in and gets utilized by our cells. So, first, our brain, or pituitary gland specifically, needs to stimulate our thyroid. And it does that via the hormone TSH. And then our thyroid is going to produce T4, which is one of our thyroid hormones, and a little bit of T3. Now, what's interesting is T3 is actually the active hormone. But our body only produces a small amount of it. And the reason is our bodies are really smart. It does everything for a reason. We actually need thyroid hormone literally everywhere from our head to our toes. And so if T3, which is the active hormone, was produced right here in the thyroid, it would be used by these cells and there wouldn't be enough to go all around the body. So the body's so smart, it produces mostly T4, which is a pro hormone. And then that T4 goes to different areas of the body, specifically the liver and the gut. And that is where it converts to T3. From there, assuming we have enough conversion, the body will then take the T4 and T3 and it needs to then go to the cells and then it has to get into the cell to get utilized. Now, this is a very complicated process. I'm breaking it down in simpler terms here, but essentially, from when the thyroid hormone is produced and then converted and then actually used, there's a lot of steps. And so, where there's a breakdown in the steps is what the types are. So, for example, if you're someone who has a normal TSH, but you still have symptoms, chances are you're actually one of three thyroid types. You may be someone who's not converting T4 to T3 properly. You also may be someone who has the hormones, but the hormones may not be available to your cells. You may still have a normal TSH, but your free hormones may be low. Or you also can have normal hormones and normal TSH, but when you have Hashimoto's, you actually have a lot of inflammation that the immune system is creating when it's attacking your thyroid, and that can cause a lot of symptoms as well. Another thyroid type is when the pituitary gland is actually not stimulating the thyroid properly. And in those cases, you actually may have a low TSH, and yet you can still have slow thyroid symptoms. And so that's why it is so important to know your type so that you're supporting your body the right way. Because what's so interesting is that every thyroid type actually has an underlying reason of why it happens. So if you are the low T3 type and you're not converting your T4 to T3, there is a specific reason for that. And to support that, you want to do it in the right way for that reason. If you're someone who has enough hormones, but the hormones can't actually get into the cell properly, and if the cell can't use them, you're going to have all of the slow thyroid symptoms. Well, the underlying reason for that is going to be different. And so you then want to make sure you support it for that so that you feel better. And the same goes for the type where you're not stimulating the thyroid properly. There's a different underlying reason. This is why knowing your type is very, very important with Hashimoto's and hypothyroidism. Now, how do you figure out your type? Well, it's a complicated process, but in order to do that, you need to have a full thyroid panel. What is a full thyroid panel? A full thyroid panel is going to include TSH, total T4, free T4, total T3, free T3, reverse T3 uptake, and thyroid antibodies. And when you have all of those, that is how we look at them and see the patterns, and we can figure out your thyroid type. I go through a lot of this in my programs and teachings, and you can see much more about that below. And please be sure that you subscribe so that you never miss any video.